So what does it take to be a great coach? Because I mean, let's face it, what's the point in wanting to be a coach or a good coach? You want to be a great coach, an exceptional coach, a world-class coach. And you have all of the knowledge and access to the trainings to allow you to do that once you start implementing and coaching over and over again. So what's the difference? What do we need to do? What's the mindset of being a really, really amazing, incredible, great coach? Well, to start with, it's stop working on your weaknesses. Look, I know at school, the actual subjects were not my strength. So I spent most of my time doing what my teachers told me, which was to focus on biology, English, maths, actually all of my subjects. However, my real strength was in, as I now know, communication and emotional intelligence. So I believe that I could have been spending more time socializing and it would have got me to where I am way faster. But instead, I was doing what my teachers told me, which is to spend lots and lots of time working on things that were my weaknesses, that were really big challenges for me and not my strengths at all. Now, fast forward this to coaching, okay? Work on your strengths. Find out, identify what your strengths are. And the way that you can do that is simply by looking around, by noticing, by having conversations with others. And then there's also one of the programs that we run within our leadership stream or the business stream, which is Extended DISC. Extended DISC behavioral profiling is a really great tool for being able to access your strengths and being able to work out what your strengths are and what that means. So depending on which stream you choose within the Life Coaching College, you may get access to that course as well. So focusing on your strengths. When you put more attention focusing on your strengths, the things that you're good at, that come more easy for you, not only do you have way more energy at the end of the week, but those things are what, for most of us, gives us energy. It's what our passions are made of. And those things, our strengths, the things that we love and we're good at, the more we focus on them, I believe that it leads us to our path of our destiny of where we want to be even faster. So what else? Say yes and then work out how later. This is an absolutely massive, massive, massive success tool. I remember early in when I was doing my coaching, a couple of situations came up where there was an opportunity for me to say yes, and when I did that and jump in and then work out the how later, some of those opportunities are still lasting now. So what I mean by that is early on in my coaching journey, Glenn Murdoch, this guy that happens to run a coaching school, I heard that he'd opened up a coaching school. I didn't come to this school as a student because it didn't exist when I was a student. But when I got out there and I started working, I heard that Glenn Murdoch had opened up a coaching school. Now, I'd met him a few years before and I knew he was a good guy. And I thought to myself, I would really love to do some work and some training in a coaching school. I wasn't exactly sure what it is that I could do to add value to the college, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to give him a call anyway. And so after a couple of days of being a little bit scared and being fearful about calling him, what if he says no, I finally got over myself and gave him a call and rang him and said, hey, Glenn, this is who I am, and do you remember me? And of course he did remember me. And then I said to him, look, I'm doing this really cool stuff with coaching, I'm running a business now, and I'd love to be able to add value to your college. And he asked me, what is it that I'm spending time on in my business? And I'd kind of done a couple of things around leadership at the time. So I said to him, I'm doing leadership training. And he said to me, Ray, let's talk about you doing some leadership training through our business. And he asked me to go away and put some things together where I could add some value and what the programs would look like, and to come back to him the following week. So I agreed to do that and hung up the phone and then had like a mini heart attack. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? I didn't know how to put the programs together at the time. I didn't know what I was going to do for him. However, I said yes, and then I worked out how. And years later, I'm still working with him, and it's been a really awesome, mutually beneficial relationship the whole way along. Now, one of the things about saying yes and working out how I believe that is super, super powerful is that Many of us have a bit of a control freak tendency. You know, we want to make sure our ducks are all lined up before we move forward. But you know what? Your ducks will never ever be lined up the way you want them to. They just don't do that. You know, have you ever seen ducks cross a road, for example? You've got the mama duck, and you've got all the little baby ducks, and they're all there in this humble jumble weird thing. And you know what happens? If you start walking towards them as a person and they get a little bit scared, mama doesn't go, okay, duckies, line up perfectly and then we'll cross the road. No, what happens is she takes a breath and off she goes, and guess what happens to the little baby duckies? They all form into perfect formation behind her. If she said yes and all the ducks line up, your ducks don't ever line up first. So by you saying yes and then working out how, it fast tracks lining up the ducks. Your ducks, you're just like the mama duck that gets there and just takes off and starts doing it. And you'll notice when you do that more often that all the baby ducks line up behind you. Yeah? So be willing to step into a bit of uncertainty around that. Now look, I'm not talking about, conducting open heart surgery on anybody. What we're doing is coaching. We ask awesome questions. We deliver great trainings. We ask amazing questions. Yeah? And so when we're saying yes to opportunities, that creates the success even faster. So the next one is be outstanding manager of yourself. Manage your state and the perceptions of you. You know, be an outstanding manager of you. Have an understanding that you can't change other people, and you're not going to be able to change other people around you. What you can change and what you can manage is yourself. So be an outstanding manager of yourself, your state, and your emotions. Get clear on what it is you want to create and then go about managing you first. Don't worry about all the white noise out there or what everyone else is doing, or that they're doing something different to you, or somebody says that won't work. Get really clear on managing yourself. Be outstanding at that. Set your own rules. Create your own success. Head in the directions that you feel are right for you, and off you go. Don't worry about anyone else anymore. Just do what you need to do and manage that. Next is never go with the pack. If everyone else is zigging, you zag. So what this means is, be willing to stick to what's important to you. Be willing to do things that are different from what you're seeing out there. Because I believe that's where we really can add our uniqueness, our individuality to anything that we do. There are thousands and thousands of coaches out there right now. Yeah, a lot of them successful, some of them not. But you know what? When I go to a networking event, what differentiates me from the other 20 coaches in the room, or sometimes 50 coaches in the room, well, that is that I'm going to zig when they zag. I don't need to do everything the same as everyone else. Be willing to trust yourself and to bring out your own strengths, your own individuality, your own uniqueness, and zig when everyone else is zagging. Know your purpose and stay on purpose. Get clear on what's really important to you. Now, when you start out on your coaching journey, there's the personal coaching guide. I really encourage you to work through that if you haven't done it already, and revisit that regularly, because that really helps you identify your purpose and get clear on what is important to you. Look, people get really caught up on what their purpose is, and I'm not sure if this is my purpose and I can't do anything because I don't know what my purpose is. Well, guess what? I believe your purpose is to be you, the best possible version of you. So focus on that, and then the other stuff will come. So stick to that. Get clear on what is really important to you. Be yourself, do that, and then stay on track with that. And then that really creates momentum for you. The next one is avoid the bitching, the sob stories. Your power lies in your next decision or in your next choice. We have a concept called above and below the line, yeah? And you'll get to know that really, really well if you don't already. But one of the important things here is, whinging and bitching will do nothing for you. I remember Jack Canfield, who has written the book, one of his many books, is The Success Principles. In that, he gives an example of when he was a young student teacher or starting out in teaching. He was chatting to a guy on campus about his accommodation and how the heating wasn't working in his accommodation or something. And the gentleman he was speaking to said, I know the guy that owns the house you're living in. Let's go and tell him your problem and I'm sure he'll be able to sort it out. And Jack was like, no, hang on. No, I didn't want that guy to know. And the gentleman he was talking to is, well, why are you telling me if you don't want a solution or an outcome? Wouldn't it be more relevant to speak to the person that can solve the problem rather than just whinging and bitching to me? And I love that story because how often do we whine and complain to the wrong person? Yeah? If you've got a problem, go to the source. Have a real conversation with the person that can do something about it. And you know what? Beyond that, what can you do to sort the problem out, to sort the situation out yourself? So if you find yourself whinging or bitching, then ask yourself, what is it that I need to do to move forward with this? And if somebody is involved with the situation, then have that conversation with them. Witching and bitching and whining is very below the line activity, and it's something that as a coach, you don't need to waste your time on anymore. Next, we have a massive vision, which is bigger than your problems. Get clear on what it is that you want to achieve through your business. And look, if you can't make a decision on that so much yet, then just pick something. I always say pick a horse and ride it. Get clear on what it is that you would like to achieve. Get clear on what you do have clarity on. Make that your vision and then move towards it. And as well, if you're struggling at all with achieving and getting really clear on your vision, then I recommend coaching for you. That will really help you get there. So jump onto the Facebook page on TLCC on the members site and ask the question, who can coach me through achieving my vision or finding out what my really big vision around my business is? Really get clarity on that. You know, one of the things we've covered during these modules is visualization. Allow yourself the time and the space, really breathing into your core, and ask yourself, what is my vision? And when you give yourself that time, you really connect with your intuition, and that will be able to help you guide you in the right direction of your vision. So get clear on that. Next, we have find a coach or a mentor ahead of you. This is some advice that I got really early on, and it's really served me extremely well. Yes, there's great benefits in you pairing up with someone that's at the same stage as you to work through your PCP. You will get so much clarity from those situations. But for me, I always, right from the start, paid for a coach or a mentor that was ahead of me, because they had had experiences that I didn't have. They had been through a lot of the crap that maybe I would have gone through otherwise. So I invested in my craft as coaching really early and started, yes, coaching within the school, but also getting an external coach and mentor that I paid for right from scratch, because that was my way of investing in myself. Once I'd decided that I was really committing to coaching, that for me is an ongoing commitment that I make, because I know when I'm working with somebody that resonates with me, that's going to be willing to keep me to account and call me on my shit, then when they're ahead of me, I've got so much to learn from them. So that's a belief that I've had, and it's really served me well over the years. Next, respect the craft. 10,000 hours. You know, we all know the saying, it's 10,000 hours to become an expert. Look, whether you believe that's the amount of hours or not is irrelevant. You're going to have to spend time and effort to become a great coach. So I love to say, whatever your question is at the moment, where you are in your journey, the answer is to coach more. And I also believe that the quicker you start coaching people outside of the college and get paying clients, the faster you will thrive and become an expert as a coach, an exceptional coach. So always do the hours. Whatever your question is, coach. There's so much to be gained from becoming an exceptional coach, not only because you'll be paid way more and you'll be able to utilize your time and create an amazing business, but also every session I have with a client, I learn something else about myself. And I believe that every single client I'm working with is the right client for me at the time. And so you might choose to create that belief as well. You need to be a great coach. You can't do that by learning more knowledge. Yes, learn the knowledge, go through these modules, do the trainings, and coach. The more coaching hours you do every single week, the better you will become and the more success you will create. You know, many years ago, we went surfing with my boyfriend's dad, and he hadn't surfed for a couple of years. And we went out there and he was getting really frustrated because he wasn't able to get up on his board. So it'd been like 2 or 3 years since he'd been surfing. And I remember thinking, and you know, we were talking about it, he was like, oh man, that was a really crappy surf. I wasn't able to get up. And I remember saying to him, well, you haven't been surfing for like 3 years. What do you expect? We've been out here surfing, I keep saying coaching, but surfing every single weekend for ages. So of course we're going to be better at it. And it just reminded me, you know, there's a lot of coaches out there that think they're going to be magical on it straight away. The way we ask questions, the conversations we have in coaching are not the conversations and questions that normal people have. Because as a coach, you are no longer normal. You're an exceptional person. You know, you break all of the rules of normal society. So practice your coaching. Do the hours. 10,000 hours if that's what it takes for you. The more hours you do, the better coach you will become. Next we have be present. You know, be present in your training. Be present with your clients. Be present with yourself. The more you practice mindfulness and being present with yourself and your clients, with your training, when you're on these coaching modules, shut everything else down. Schedule in time in your diary to get your trainings done, to do your coaching hours. What gets scheduled gets done. So get really proactive with that. Be present and do the time. Next is show up. Now I don't just mean show up physically like I am right here with you now, but show up to everything that you do. There's a couple of things here. First, as I said before, schedule in your training, schedule in your coaching, get it done. If it's important to you, you won't have any problem making time to do it because that's what we do. Now, if you're choosing to not take time for the coaching and for the trainings at the moment, you simply haven't prioritized it enough for you at the moment to get the results you want. So maybe it's time for you to do a reshuffle there. But show up as well. When I first started running my business, I remember about 2 years in that, you know, I'd been working hard, doing a lot of hours, doing a lot of coaching. And I remember about the 2-year mark, suddenly people started calling me, started getting like newspapers calling to ask for my opinion on things about, you know, what I was an expert in at the time. Clients started calling, started getting referrals. You know, it's like when you keep showing up consistently over and over again, it's like a tipping point that happens where you go from having to push so hard or to you know, do all of the things deliberately, becomes more naturally then. And it's like there's a tipping point and it just gets a little bit easier from then. So keep showing up physically, online, with your marketing, because that consistency really, really counts. And finally, look, if you have any questions, call student support. For anything techie or administration, call support. We've got people there that can answer your calls. And look, for anything else, call Doc. You have access to his phone number. But I'll tell you a couple of tips about Doc. What I would encourage you to do is give him a call. If you're going to ring him and he doesn't answer, leave a message, because otherwise he won't call you back. And also, when he helps you with something, go back to him and let him know what your successes were around it. But I tell you what, there's one area that Doc's very similar to me, is if I help you with something, or if Doc helps you with something, make sure you follow through and take the action, because otherwise you've just wasted everybody's time. So be accountable. If you've got a problem, no point in whinging and bitching, we've got people for you to contact to help you with that. We've got mentors, we've got, you know, the people that are going to be able to support you with questions that you've got. There's also an online TLCC membership forum where there's hundreds and hundreds of other coaches there to help you with any problems or issues or concerns or information that you need finding. Use the resources that are there for you. become above the line, take responsibility for yourself, and keep turning up.